Lena had only just moved in with her stepbrother, Ethan, and already she felt like an outsider. It wasn't that Ethan was unfriendly, he was just quiet, absorbed in his own world of video games, books, and art. Lena, on the other hand, had always been social, always trying to make friends in new places. But after her parents' recent remarriage, the adjustment was hard. Ethan didn't seem to mind the new living arrangement. His dad and her mom were getting along fine, and his usual routine hadn't been interrupted much. Lena's mom had told her she needed to make more of an effort to bond with Ethan, but she didn't know where to start. One afternoon, Lena decided to explore the attic in their new house. She'd been curious about the dusty old boxes up there, wondering if there were any hidden treasures. As she rummaged through one of the boxes, she uncovered an old, leather-bound journal with a faded map tucked inside. The map looked ancient, marked with strange symbols and a series of locations. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be a treasure map? Without thinking, she ran downstairs to show Ethan, who was in the living room sketching in his notebook. She held up the journal excitedly. "Ethan, look at this. I found this in the attic. It looks like a treasure map." Ethan raised an eyebrow, putting his sketchbook aside. He wasn't as easily swayed by excitement as Lena was, but the map intrigued him. He took it from her hands and studied it carefully. "It could be a family heirloom, or some kind of prank," he said slowly, tracing the faded lines with his finger. Lena's eyes widened. "You don't think it's real?" Ethan gave a small shrug. "I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's see where it leads." And just like that, the two of them were pulled into an adventure that neither had expected. They spent the next few weeks investigating the map, using old family records and local landmarks to decipher the locations. Along the way, they learned a lot about each other. Lena's knack for problem-solving, Ethan's attention to detail, and their shared love of mysteries. At first, it was just about curiosity, but as the clues came together, the two found themselves more and more reliant on each other's strengths. The treasure hunt led them to unexpected places around the town, an abandoned cabin in the woods, a hidden cave near the river, and even a forgotten part of the family estate that hadn't been explored in years. With each step, they learned more about their family's past and the deep bond that had always been there, waiting to be discovered. By the time they reached the final location, they realized that the treasure wasn't gold or jewels, but a series of letters and photographs that told the story of their grandparents' adventures together. The real treasure was the legacy they had left behind, a reminder that family bonds ran deeper than they had ever imagined. The discovery of the letters and photographs left Lena and Ethan in a quiet awe. They sat on the floor of the old attic, surrounded by the remnants of their grandparents' lives. The photographs showed their grandparents in their younger years, laughing together on trips they'd taken, their hands clasped tightly in each frame, eyes filled with love and adventure. The letters, yellowed with age, detailed stories of their travels, dreams, and the bond they'd built over time. It was more than they'd ever known. Lena carefully flipped through the pages, reading aloud from one of the letters. "It's incredible," she whispered. "They had such a deep connection. It's like they were always together, even when they were apart." Ethan nodded, his gaze on the photos.
Yeah.
"I never really thought about it before, but we've never had anything like that." "Not really." Lena looked over at him, sensing the shift in his tone. He wasn't just talking about their grandparents anymore. He was talking about them, about their relationship, or lack of it up until that point. She felt a pang of understanding. "Maybe we can change that," she said softly. "I mean, not like we need to be exactly like them or anything, but we could try. Maybe start with something small, like going on an adventure together. Something that's just ours." Ethan gave a small smile, his eyes still focused on the map. "You mean like a sequel to this treasure hunt?" Lena grinned. "Exactly." It felt like the right moment. They'd uncovered the history of their family, and now it was time for them to create their own story. They spent the following weeks planning small trips. Nothing too grand, but enough to bring them closer. They went to a nearby park for a weekend hike, shared stories over pizza in their favorite diner, and even tackled a few local puzzles together. Slowly but surely, their bond began to grow. They laughed more, joked around, and discovered shared interests that had once seemed impossible. One evening, as the sun was setting, they sat on the porch of their house, looking at the stars. It had been one of those rare nights where everything felt right. Their parents were out, leaving the house to themselves. Ethan had his sketchbook in hand, and Lena was flipping through one of the old letters they'd found in the attic. "I think we've done it," Lena said, breaking the silence. "We've created our own adventure." Ethan glanced up from his sketchbook, his expression thoughtful.
"Yeah."
"And I think our grandparents would have been proud of us." Lena smiled, her heart warm. "I think so, too." They didn't need to find treasure in hidden caves or ancient relics. The real treasure was what they had found in each other, a friendship that had been waiting to blossom, hidden beneath the surface all along. As the weeks passed, Lena and Ethan continued to grow closer, discovering not just the quirks and habits of one another, but a genuine sense of camaraderie that they hadn't expected. Their family dinners became more lively, filled with inside jokes and shared stories of their mini adventures. It felt less like two strangers living under the same roof and more like a team that had been formed out of curiosity, patience, and a willingness to understand each other. One Saturday, when the weather was perfect for exploring, Lena suggested they revisit the spots they'd marked on the old treasure map. They'd uncovered most of the clues, but one still remained, a location near the town's old library that neither of them had ever noticed before. They decided to leave it for a day when they were ready for a new kind of adventure. Lena and Ethan made their way to the library, the old building looming before them with its tall windows and weathered stone walls. It wasn't a place they'd ever gone together, but as they walked through the doors, they both felt an odd sense of anticipation, like there was more waiting for them. They approached the librarian, a gentle woman in her 60s who greeted them with a warm smile. "We're looking for something," Ethan said, his voice careful but curious. "A part of town that's not really listed anywhere. Do you have any old maps or records from around here?" The librarian gave them a knowing look, as if she'd been waiting for someone to ask. "You'll want to go down to the archives in the basement," she said, gesturing toward a spiral staircase at the back of the library. "There's a section with old town records. Not many people ask about it. But you too. It seems like you're on the right path." Lena and Ethan exchanged a glance, the spark of excitement igniting once again. They descended into the basement, the cool air making the old stone walls seem even more ancient. The room was dimly lit, filled with rows of shelves stacked high with dusty records, maps, and historical documents. It was quiet, peaceful in a way that felt almost otherworldly. The two of them started going through old town records, looking for any mention of the place on their map. The longer they searched, the more they realized this part of town's history was shrouded in mystery, bits and pieces that didn't make sense, places that seemed to have been forgotten over time. After what felt like hours, Lena found something, a small, fragile map tucked inside a thick folder of town blueprints. It was almost identical to the one they'd found in the attic. Only this one had an additional mark, a red X drawn on a hill just outside town, near an old abandoned chapel. Ethan looked over her shoulder, a soft laugh escaping his lips. "I guess we're not done yet." Lena grinned. "Nope. Looks like we've got one more adventure to go." As they left the basement, feeling the thrill of a new mystery to solve, Lena couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed since that first day they'd discovered the map. They'd come so far, not just in solving the mystery, but in their relationship. What had once felt like an awkward connection between strangers had turned into something deeper. They weren't just step-siblings anymore. They were partners, in every sense of the word. When they reached the hill near the chapel, the last remnants of the setting sun cast a golden glow across the landscape. The chapel was crumbling, its stone walls barely standing, but there was something undeniably magical about it. They felt like they were on the edge of uncovering something big. The red X was marked on the map at the foot of a large oak tree, its twisted roots curling into the earth. Ethan knelt down, brushing away the dirt and leaves beneath it, his heart pounding in his chest. For a moment, Lena wondered if they were about to uncover something truly valuable, perhaps treasure after all, something to keep. And then, As his fingers brushed against something hard, Ethan's eyes widened. "I think I found it," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Lena knelt beside him, and together they uncovered an old metal box, weathered by time but still intact. Their hearts raced as they opened it. Inside was another collection of old papers, letters, family journals, and a photograph of the same two people from the other records they'd found, their grandparents. But there was more. There was a note addressed to them. "To the next generation," it began. "May you continue the search for what truly matters." The final treasure, Lena realized, wasn't the box or the objects inside. It was the message. Their grandparents had left this for them, a reminder that the real treasure was in the journey, in the connections they made, and in the legacy of love and adventure they carried forward. She looked over at Ethan, her stepbrother, now her closest friend. "We did it," she said, smiling. He smiled back, something softer in his eyes now. "Yeah, we did." And just like that, they knew their adventure wasn't over. It was just beginning.